Oh my goodness, already getting followers. Gee, I wonder who that is. That sounds like, or looks like, it could be an Ari. Hello. I'm not going to do the whole spiel. I'm not very good at this. Hello, welcome to my channel. This is my first time streaming on Twitch and my first time making cold processed soap. So this could either go really, really well or really, really poorly. And there's only one way to find out. So I think we're just going to go ahead and get started. And I have my, oh my god, hi Bo. Guess what? So as I took this out of the packaging, I realized, get this in the frame so you can see it, the brand of my stick blender is Black Cow. And oh my god, okay, hang on. Let me see if I can get this audio better quality. Hold on. Okay, we're back. I am gonna... Okay, how about this? Is this better? I have earbuds in now, so maybe you can hear me better. Maybe you can't. I don't know. A little better? Okay, well, you know what? For right now, we'll take it. Let me put them both in and get some dynamic microphoning going. Oh my god, thank you for the follow. That's so exciting. Okay. Also, I'll try to talk louder so that you can actually hear me. So anyway, I have my trusty little notebook here with my, first of all, I'm obsessed with this notebook. I got it at Michael's. I am so excited. And here we have our recipe for baby's first cold processed soap. I am so excited. So, very important. I got this recipe from Brambleberry, which is apparently a pillar of the soap making community. And the most important thing that she emphasized is to use your protective equipment. So I got these heckin' cute gloves, and I got these heckin' cute safety goggles, and gonna put those right over my glasses. And I got these heckin' cute spatulas. They're so aesthetically pleasing. Alright, so first thing that we need to do is we are supposed to be using distilled water, which hilariously, water is the first thing on the list. And I forgot it. So I'm gonna be right back. Which is what I was told to use. And that's because there are minerals and trace elements in tap water which can be bad for the soap. However, I did not have distilled water, so we're using bottled water. I think that's good enough. And what the soap lady said to do is that we should be using this, we should be measuring everything by weight and not by volume, because that is much more precise and it's much easier to do. She also said to measure by grams, but you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm doing ounces because I didn't convert the grams to ounces Hashtag anything but metric. So 7.9 ounces of our fancy smancy distilled water. Which is not fancy schmancy or distilled, but it's good enough. Because I'm not giving this first batch, I'm not giving it to anybody. This is just going to be for personal use because this is my first time doing it. And it's probably going to be kind of a train wreck. So why would I want to give it away? All right. Then we have 3.4 ounces of sodium hydroxide lye. And there are different kinds of lye. Very important. You don't want to use the kind that you get at, the hardware store. There are drain cleaners that have sodium hydroxide lye in them, and you definitely don't want to use that because they also, unfortunately, have a lot of other stuff in addition to that, and that can be very dangerous. Oh my God. Okay, so one of these containers, which I thought was the sodium hydroxide lye, is in fact my coconut oil. So I'm gonna go get the lye. Y'all, I am so sorry. Like I said, this is my first time doing this, so I am just a little bit of a mess. But hang on, take a break, hydrate, do whatever you gotta do. I promise I'll be back. Okay, we're back. Ta-da! We have the sodium hydroxide lye now. And, oh my God, hi Lighthouse! So sorry if there's anyone in chat that I'm not saying hello to or that I'm missing. I am using my phone to stream, and because the phone is pointed down at the work area, I'm not going to see all the chats. So, doing my best. This is just really here to be super relatable. A little bit of ASMR, a little bit of me being out of breath from running across my house to get supplies that I thought I already had organized. I'm just live streaming my midlife crisis for you all, because as we all know, women of a certain age are sorting themselves into houses like Hogwarts. Soap making is one of them, apparently. Plants is another one. Marathons is one that I tried and did not stick with. But anyway, so the sodium hydroxide lye. So, like I said, you want to use pure 100% sodium hydroxide lye. I got the food grade. It doesn't have to be food grade, obviously, for soap making, but that's the easiest way to make sure that it is, my understanding anyway. I'm not speaking like I'm an authority on these things, folks. I'm just relaying what was told to me. It's the easiest way to make sure that it doesn't have any of those harmful additives. So we want 3.4 ounces, and this is just, you see, this is in a granule form. It comes in flakes, it comes in granules, it comes in several different formats. And obviously this has a very intense child safety cap. This has to be stored in a cool, dry, well-ventilated place. And that's why I'm doing this outside, because when the lye mixes with the water, it creates what can be a pretty intense exothermic reaction. Lots of heat and some fumes that are not great to inhale. So now we have the water, we have the lye. Now we're going to move on to our oils. So for this, I am using, very beginner-friendly recipe with very beginner-friendly oils. Again, this was recommended. This recipe was on one of Brambleberry's videos for beginner cold process soap, and she recommends that for a good combination of cleansing and cleansing, good lather, feels luxurious, but also you're not using super luxury oils or anything. It's just equal parts coconut oil, palm oil, and olive oil. So first thing we're gonna do, first of all, y'all, I am so mad about this, and it's my fault, right? Because I ordered this from a certain online retailer, which I'll remain nameless. But this is how my olive oil arrived, and it's so it's so sad. And when I opened it, it just exploded all over me. So yeah, but it's still usable. Just gonna have to use it all very quickly, and obviously I'm not gonna use it for food, so I'm just gonna, oh my god, okay. This is fine, everything's fine. We need 8 ounces of 8 ounces of olive oil. Here we go. This is fine. Just whatever you do, don't start pouring straight now. Just keep dripping down the side, please. This is another reason why I'm doing this outdoors, because I know... crap. Okay, that was a little too much. I know who I am as a person, and I don't want to clean up this mess. So some of it's for ventilation, some of it is just because I don't feel like dealing with it. So we're just going to pour off a little bit, because that was just a tiny bit too much. Let's see, where are we at? It's still a tiny bit too much. Okay. Now, soap making is an art, but it's mostly a science. It's chemistry. So, unfortunately, oh my god, now it's not enough. You can't just do this based on vibes, because what happens in the process of saponification, which is where I got the name, is the oils and the or fats or whatever it is that you're using, because it doesn't have to be oils. It doesn't have to be plant oils. It can be animal fats. It can be people. It can be animals. It can be a number of things. But what happens is that the fats and the oils combine with the lye in a process called saponification, and you want the oils to neutralize the lye, because lye is caustic and it will burn your skin. So you do something that's called super fatting, which is to put a little bit more oil than you actually need, 5 or 10% more oil than you need to completely react with all of the lye. And that way you can make sure that there's not going to be any lye left over in the soap that could potentially burn someone when they're using your soap. Oh man, I'm running out of bowls here. Okay. Fortunately, I went to the thrift store and I have so many bowls. And you can tell how humid it is because these bowls are still a little cold from being inside, and they are now starting to get condensation on them because it's so warm and humid outside. So the next one is palm oil, and again, this is the finest quality food grade palm oil. I am trying to use organic / food grade materials whenever possible, because it's just, I want to be able to say that everything that's in my soap is all natural and that it's good for the environment, it's good for your skin, it's good for everything. Obviously you're not going to be eating it, but better safe than sorry. And most of these oils are, you want a mix of oils that are solid and liquid at room temperature. And the reason for that is that if you use all oils that are liquid at room temperature, then your product will be kind of slimy, not super, not like the hard, dense bar of soap that most people think of, right, when they think of a bar of soap. And it is possible to make soap with all liquid fats. Castile soap is a type of soap that is made with just olive oil with no other ingredients. Ari, I often want to put soap in my mouth, so that's good. I will say that the ones that are, sometimes you see the super fancy, very pretty soaps online that are shaped like food, and honestly, it's kind of a problem sometimes. If I see soap that smells and looks like a cupcake, I'm not going to buy that soap because it's just going to make me hungry. It's going to make me want a cupcake. So my soaps, I am still working on the blends that I'm going to use in terms of scents and whatnot, and color. This is going to be an extremely simple soap. I am just going to be using lavender and chamomile essential oils, and the reason, and one colorant, and the reason for that is, again, recommended by Brambleberry. You don't want to make your first batch too complicated in terms of what you're using, right? You're still learning how to work with all these materials, so you're going to want to make it as easy as possible. Get a feel for the different oils that you're using, see how they behave, see how they react together, and just kind of, get used to them before you start working with the fancy stuff. And also for economic purposes, if you mess it up, you mess up your first batch, and you're using really fancy colorants or really fancy fragrances or anything, or luxury oils like jojoba or shea butter or something like that, you're going to obviously be out more money than if you're just doing it with some cheaper materials. So I don't have an auto mod or anything set up yet on my channel because I looked at all those settings and it seemed like a lot, so I said I'll deal with that later. But Bo is being censored, so I apologize that Twitch's natural default filters are discriminating against you, Bo. Let me see if I can get this up a little bit higher. Nope, I can't. Okay, I'll just have to find a different way to do this next time. But here we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, not too bad. I'm also supposed to be wearing long pants and long sleeves, but it is 95 degrees and 100% humidity, and I feel like I'm dying. I got sweat in my eyes already. I'm struggling, so I'm not doing that. But for anybody watching at home, you should be wearing long pants, long sleeves, and closed-toed shoes. And you'll see why very shortly, because the lye reaction is pretty intense. Alright, so now we need 8 ounces of the coconut oil. So put that all together. And I really should be doing these in separate bowls, but I don't have that many bowls. I have like 5, and that's not enough. So now coconut oil, as you can see, it's all kind of gloopy and it's starting to melt. That's because coconut oil is a solid at room temperature, but its melting point is very low. It has a melting point of 75 degrees, and it is way more than 75 degrees right now. So this was solid when I brought it inside, and now it's already starting to kind of fall apart, which, same. I too am melting and falling apart, so I get you, coconut oil. Alright, so those are all the oils, and now I'm just gonna, I don't don't need you anymore, so you're going to go off to the side here. I'm just going to blend all of these together as best I can. So this is going to be super gloopy because we've got the palm oil, which doesn't really want to melt yet, the coconut oil, which is in the process of melting, and the olive oil, which obviously is a liquid at room temperature, as I found out earlier today when it ended up all over my shirt. Olive oil, pure olive oil, I didn't realize what a strong and distinct smell pure olive oil has, but boy, when it's on your face and your glasses and your shirt and everything else, yeah, it sure does have a smell. Well, thank you for the follow, Lighthouse. Appreciate you. Thank you for bearing with me through my technical difficulties and my rambling. I don't expect that this is gonna blow up. It would be really cool if it did, but I'm not here for the Twitch as much as I am for just hanging out with everybody while I go through this process. And I thought, it was fascinating for me to learn about it, so I thought everybody else might want to learn about it too. And now, what I'm going to do is going to take one more quick break, because what I need to do, the gloop, what I have to do is run this inside, pop it in the microwave for like 30 seconds to a minute, because the oils and the lye water need to be at roughly the same temperature, and ideally you want them both to be around like 150. Now, I have not worked with lye before, and I think different types of lye get to different temperatures when you are when you're mixing them with water. I'm sure there's other factors too, the volume that you're using, the temperature of the workspace, which right now is quite high, and things like that. But I need to try to get these oils as close to that temperature as possible. So I'm going to grab my little thermometer, and I'm going to grab my bowl of goop. Yeah, it might actually blow up. So there are things that you could do to make it as safe as possible. I just got your pun like, oh my god. I said that so long ago. This is why I need to keep up with chat a little bit better. But yes, it is a chemistry experiment, and I took chemistry in high school, but we didn't do a lot of experiments. It was mostly paper and math. Maybe that's why I'm so fascinated by this, because this requires math, but it is also something practical that I can really get my hands into. Okay, so take 2-minute break while I go microwave this, and I will be right back. Alright, y'all, we're back in business. Alright, y'all, we're back. I hope you enjoyed the sweet, sweet nature sounds of my suburban backyard. So, we got the oils, as you can see. They are now beautifully blended together. And we are at, let's see, should be close to 150. Yeah, alright, so that's pretty close. Fortunately, yeah, just over 150. Heck yeah. Fortunately, because of how hot it is outside, I'm not too concerned about them cooling off, but we do need to work quickly. So, what you want to do with this lye, and you can see it's already around the edges, starting to mix with moisture in the air. So, this is not warming up too much yet, but it is warm to the touch. So, what you want to do is add the lye to the water, never the other way around. If you add the water to the lye, what can happen is it can actually explode, because it releases, it's what's known as an exothermic reaction, so it produces quite a bit of heat, and that's what kind of causes this cloudiness that you're seeing here. So this is the lye mixing with the water, and it's creating this cloudiness. When it's completely mixed, it will actually be clear. So let me use another spatula here to kind of get all of this goodness out of this bowl. And like I said, you want to add it slowly. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to work at a snail's pace, but you don't want to dump it in all at once, because that's not really much better than adding the lye to, or adding the water to the lye. Just let it mix carefully and slowly. And this is the reason for all the safety equipment, right? Like, I don't want to get 150 degree oil on myself. That wouldn't be the end of the world. But lye burns are no joke. So that's why I'm covering my hands, I'm covering my eyes. If you get lye on your skin, you want to immediately rinse it off with lots and lots and lots and lots of water. Oh, and I just inhaled. I was getting no fumes at all, and then suddenly I got just a whole face full of them. So I'm standing off to the side a little bit now. Now you can see, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but this is definitely steaming now. Let's see what temperature it's at. Oh man, yeah, so this, as you can see, this jumped up in temperature. So this is at 194. So we're going to need to give this a minute to cool off before we add it to the oils. The oils are actually retaining their heat really well. The oils are still at 153, so that's awesome. And you can see now this is starting to clear up a little bit. So as the reaction calms down, this will start to clear up. This should be completely clear. And now while we're waiting for that to cool down a little bit, I am going to prepare my molds. And these, again, I just bought these at the thrift store. You can buy molds online. You can buy custom silicone molds on Etsy, which is something that I will probably look into once I've done this a little bit more and I'm a little bit more, I have a better idea of what it is that I'm going for. But in the beginning, I just wanted something very simple. These are used molds, so they got, some spots and stuff, but that's okay. The molds themselves are clean, and that's what's important. So we've got what should be plenty of molds here for the volume of soap that we're making. I also have some colorant, which I purchased also from the thrift store. And let's see, one of these No, you know what? I think I'm going to use the colorants that I bought at Michael's, actually, because these are not labeled, and I do not know what color they are. Oh, wait. Okay. No, I think I see a purple one. That's what I'm going to be doing, is some purple, kind of purplish, bluish, for that really nice lavender color. And I'm not going to be super picky with the color that this turns out, because like I said, this is just for me. I'm not selling it. I'm not giving it to anyone. And also, colorants can react differently than you might anticipate. So you kind of have to be a little careful. Make sure that you have colorants. You know, some of them may stain, so you don't want to use like food dye or anything like that. Turmeric is a really nice natural colorant that gives your soap kind of a nice orangey color. But anyone who has cooked with turmeric can tell you it stains like crazy. So you don't want to be selling soap to people that will stain their shower. So I'm going to try to use the glycerin colorants that I purchased at the Michaels. Okay, this is coming down a little bit. This is at 174 now. The oils are still over 150, which is excellent. When they get to within 10 degrees of each other, then I will go ahead and mix them together. So while that's cooling off just a little bit more, and also you want to do it still while they are fairly hot, because the hotter they are, the easier they blend, and the more time you have before you achieve what's called trace. And trace is just how thick the soap batter is. And they call it that because you should be able to trace your name in the soap. Mm-hmm. Maybe not if you have a super long name like mine, but you should be able to just kind of do a little swirly on top of it and see it kind of. Think about like when you're making cake, right? Or brownies or something. There's different consistencies for that batter, right? And the thicker the batter is, if you kind of drizzle it with a spoon, or when you pour it into the pan, you get the ripples, that's a thick trace. Whereas if you're making something like, I don't know, maybe a cheese sauce for mac and cheese or something like that, or any other kind of, thin sauce, and you drizzle that, it's going to stay for just a second and then it's going to go away. And that's a thin trace. You see it and then it's gone. So, all right. Now, these should be just about ready. So this is about 165. And our oils, okay, not quite yet. They're about within about 20 degrees of each other. Give it a couple more minutes. Now this stick blender is brand new. I've never used a stick blender before, so this is, woo! I was gonna say this is new to me, but it's very fancy, as you can see. We have the speed control at the top. I'm gonna keep it on the lowest setting because I haven't used one of these before, and I don't want to fling my soap everywhere when I try to stir it. But the stick blender apparently is a very necessary tool, because some people try to do this with a whisk, and apparently that can take hours. Anne-Marie from Brambleberry said that she tried it once and it took, I want to say 3 to 5 hours to achieve thin trace with her soap, which obviously, especially if you're going for something like a thick trace because you want to do layering or fun patterns, which I hope to get to eventually, but I am not there yet, that would just be bananas. That would take entirely too long. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my spoon in here, and then you want to add the lye water to the oils, never the other way around. And we pour it down the spatula so that it doesn't splash, because again, you do not want to come into contact with this lye water at any point during the process. It's one of the most important things about soap making. You do not ever want to get that on your skin. All right, very nice. That wasn't too bad, pretty painless. So put those over there. Now we stick blend. So I'm going to put the stick blender in. You see all those bubbles? Just want to give it a little tap tap on the bottom. Get as many of those bubbles out as possible, because that works. You don't want to work air bubbles into your soap. So this is called burping it. So I think I've got as much out as I can. And now we just give it quick little stirs. And whoops, yeah, gotta keep it under the water. And as you can see, this is what's known as emulsifying. So what you're trying to do here is just mix the oils and mix the oils and the lye water together. You want to mix it as thoroughly as possible so that all of those lye molecules come into contact with all of those oil molecules, because you want a one-to-one match in the lye and the oil on the molecular level. That's how you're going to make sure that you have no lye left over in your soap. And I'm just scraping the sides because obviously you can't really do that with the stick blender. So I'm just using this silicone spatula, scrape the sides, and make sure that I got all of it in the middle there. Oops. See, that's exactly what I didn't want to do. First timers, beginners mistake. That's okay. There's a little bit of bubbles in the soap. It's not the end of the world. Now, it's getting thick already, thick enough that when I hit the button, it is pulling the stick blender down into the mix. So that's how you know it's already starting to achieve trace. And nothing yet. We haven't really gotten a thin trace yet. I'm seeing, actually, yeah, the camera's not picking it up, but when a drop hits the surface, it's still, you're still seeing a little bit of an impression left over. It's kind of like whale footprints. If you've ever been on a whale watch and you've seen how after the whales dive, there's a smooth spot in the ocean where there's no waves, and it's right where they dove. That's a whale footprint. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. I'm just trying to get all these bubbles over to the edge. Work them out as much as possible. Sorry about the camera bouncing. I forget that when I tap the table, it moves my entire rig because I have the most beginner of setups here. Okay, now it's time for the fun part. Now we add the colorants and the scents. So, I looked earlier, and apparently when you have, oh my god, there's a dropper in this, it's going to take forever. I gotta see if I can get this out. Whenever you choose to add a different kind of oil to your soap, right? Say you're trying to do jojoba or shea butter or any of those fancy oils that we talked about earlier, because you just really want your soap to be super fancy and luxurious. That's fine. And there are calculators online that you can use for that so that you have a good idea of what you need to do, because what you have to do is what's called discounting. If you add one kind of, oh, that smells nice, it's a chamomile essential oil. If you add a different kind of oil to your soap, then you have to take away some other kind of oil, because as we talked about earlier, it is a chemical reaction, and you do have to make sure that the ratios are correct for that chemical reaction to work properly. Essential oils do not work that way. They aren't reacted with in the mixture, at least according to the very brief research that I did this afternoon when I was trying to see if I would need to discount my oils in order to add this. The answer was no, you do not have to do that. Okay, this didn't actually take as long as I thought. That was an entire bottle of lavender. Let me see, is there still some of this chamomile left? I want to use one bottle of lavender and one bottle of chamomile, because you know what? It's 2025, and couldn't we all use a nice relaxing bar soap with some nice lavender and chamomile in it? So, and if you would like to be a guinea pig for this first batch of soap, please let me know. By all means, you can have it for free. There should be quite a few bars that I get out of this first batch, and that smells really nice, actually. I love lavender, is one of my favorites, and it is scientifically proven. There have been studies done on it, and it is scientifically proven that it does actually help lower your stress level. It's not just psychosomatic. Although, frankly, even if it was, I would still take it at this point. Alright, now I'm just going to experiment a little bit with the color here. And also, you'll notice that the color of the batter is probably going to affect the ultimate color of the soap, because the batter is not white. If I had used titanium dioxide, that would make it nice and white, and then these colors would really pop. But I didn't. So we have this yellowish sort of batter, which is fine. I'm starting with 2 drops of each because I've never used colorants in my soap. I've made soap before, but I've only ever done melt and pour soap, which is not at all the same as this. Very, very different. Okay, that added, I'm just sure the camera is not even picking it up, that added like the slightest bit of color. So I'm going to use a lot more now. So that was 2 drops of each. So I'm going to do like 8 more drops of each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I said 8. That was 9. Whatever. Who cares? There are no rules in soap making. Well, no, there's a lot of rules in soap making, but when it comes to the fragrances and the colors, there's no rules for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because I want them to be the same. Right, let's mix this in. That's so satisfying. I almost want to just leave it like that. I know it wouldn't work if I did, but boy, wouldn't that be pretty. I've been watching a lot of videos to learn before I started doing this, and a lot of those videos have very pretty layered soaps and colors, and there's all these different layering techniques you can use depending on how thick your batter is, what trace you've achieved, what you want your finished product to look like. And that's why when you see these soaps that are like in the shape of mountains or trees, or they have, you know, some kind of really fancy design, there are things you can do to achieve that. Some of them are, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like, it's just something that you pull through the batter after you achieved a very thick trace. I'm going to do a couple more drops of each of these, then I think I'm done. This is not, you know what, I'm just going to do blue actually. This is not the color that I expected it to be, but that's okay. I want a kind of, bluish purple, because that is, to me, the color of lavender. It's more blue, or the blue purple. Just keep scraping off the sides. If any of you have watched Star vs. the Forces of Evil, when he's feeding Glossaryck the pudding, and he says, "Scrape the sides," we quote that in my house a lot. So at some point you'll probably hear me say "scrape the sides" like that, because I'm now, my Pavlovian conditioning kicks in and I just can't help it. Okay, whatever. I'm not happy with these colorants, which, again, I bought them at a thrift store. It's fine. I'm not mad about it. The entire bag was $1, but it's hard to see. But it's kind of, oh my God, where is my camera? There we go. It's kind of speckled instead of like, it's just got speckles of red and blue instead of like actually changing the overall hue of the soap. So I might just toss those and try the glycerin-based ones that I bought at Michael's. Ooh, that is still very warm. All right, so now before we get too far into the process of saponification, which is where I got my name, we want to start getting this into a mold. So saponification is just a fancy word for the scientific process that happens when soap undergoes becoming soap. It's the term for when these oils and the lye mix together. Okay, not that bad. And create soap. They stop being separate entities. They stop being oil and lye and start being this thing that you can wash yourself with. And that is one of the reasons that I really wanted to do that. Is I thought, first of all, that is super cool, and I really want to learn more about that. And also, I learned that saponification is also the word for something fairly morbid, but I think really cool, which is that under certain conditions, has to be very specific conditions in terms of moisture and temperature and everything, but under certain conditions, a body, human or animal, can undergo saponification. And the oils or the fats in the tissues mix with the salts and minerals in the soil or the water that they're in and create this insoluble soap-like substance. It's called grave wax or corpse wax. And that is A, metal, very cool, but B, something that's used in forensics to help determine a variety of factors, time of death, place of death, things like that. And being as how I am a child of the 90s, and I like to watch a lot of forensic files growing up, I just think stuff like that is fascinating. So that is where I got the inspiration for my name, because I thought it was neat that it could refer to multiple different things. And what I eventually want to do, see, you can see this is now probably medium or heavy trace, because you can see the drizzles on top are staying in place. What I want to do eventually is create soaps that honor places where saponification can occur naturally. So there have been mummies that have been found saponified. There have been, some of you may have heard of the bog bodies that are from, are you kidding me? Now I find my Michael's colorants, now I find them. But they are, they have been found in bogs, they've been found at the bottoms of lakes. A mummy was once located, which a hapless instructor, apparently not realizing, he thought that it was wax that was used to preserve the corpse, and did not realize that it was a product of the corpse itself. And he made candles out of them to light the lecture hall in which he was giving a lecture about the very process of unearthing this mummy. And obviously we didn't know about saponification at the time. So I just think it's cool as hell that a bunch of people went to a lecture about this mummy and were sitting in a hall that was lit with candles that were made from the corpse wax. That's probably because I am a deeply weird person, but I'm fascinated by stuff like that. Fascinated by what happens after we die that nature can use what we leave behind. So that, I think, is everything for now. So basically what's going to happen now is this needs to stay in the mold for about 24 hours, and at that point it will be cooled off, obviously, because right now it's still quite hot, and it will be ready to demold because it'll be nice and hard. And what I can take it out of the mold and I can lay it out to cure. So the curing process, I'll update all my socials with pictures from this, and also with some progress photos from the curing process. But it will it takes about 4 to 6 weeks. So that's for cold process soap. If you make hot process soap in a crock pot or using a heating pad or what have you, it's much faster, and it's actually ready to use the same day, because the heat speeds up the saponification. It speeds up the combination of these oils and these and the lye into a usable product. But I'm doing cold process, so that takes about 4 to 6 weeks for the soap to fully cure. And during that time, it has to sit out in an area with lots of air circulation and adequate ventilation. Sure, the same thing, Jesus. And controlled humidity and controlled temperature. So my challenge is going to be finding a place that I can cure this away from my cat. I think it's going to probably go in my home office, and the door is going to stay closed because he is going to want to investigate. He finds things even when I don't think he'll notice them. He notices them. So that's going to sit for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then it'll be ready to use. So that is everything for today. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me, for hanging out through, oh my god, my hands are so sweaty, for sticking around through the technical difficulties and the beginner nature of my stream. I promise next time will be better. I was a little frazzled at the beginning of this, so I was kind of just running around like crazy trying to find everything I needed and also do it quickly. But this was super fun. I was really looking forward to this. I could not wait until all of my stuff came. And for those of you who are curious, who may be interested in starting something like this of your own, the whole thing, the entire setup, right? The molds, the bowls, the spatulas, the safety equipment, hand mixer or stick blender, and the ingredients was under $200. So it's definitely something that if you're interested, you could certainly get started with on a budget and still have a lot of fun with, and have like a really cool usable product. So I'm sure I'm going to be doing a lot more experimenting before I get to the point where I feel comfortable selling this. I'm probably going to do a lot of using it on myself, giving it away, and maybe, you know, giving some as gifts if I get to the point where I feel like it's good enough. It's not there yet. And cleanup is super simple. You can actually just wait a couple days for the remnants that are left over to fully saponify, and then just rinse it. So, or you can, you know, wash it out the old-fashioned way using a degreasing soap like Dawn or something, but those oils are going to be difficult, so I think I'm probably just going to let nature take its course and then clean it with water. But anyway, so yeah, we're reaching the 1 hour mark, so thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for the likes, thank you for the follows. I really appreciate it. I do have an Instagram, a TikTok, a Facebook, a YouTube, and obviously a Twitch setup. I haven't set up an Etsy shop yet because I need photos of my product apparently to actually even create the shop. I just wanted to reserve the name. But that'll be up there too once I finally get to that point and I have stuff that I'm ready to sell. But again, thank you all so much for joining. Go follow my socials. I promise I will post lots of updates there, and I'm hoping to do this once a week on Wednesdays, so if you can join me, that would be great. So I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks again. Have a good night. Bye.